Hi guys, good afternoon. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Kim Schubring, and I've been involved with the READY program since 2007. I'm currently the Resource Development Manager at St. Joseph Academy in Milwaukee, and I'm working on ensuring that READY initiatives are flourishing in the Milwaukee area for our teens. Why do I do this? I think about all the blessings that Ready Camp has given to me personally, not just for the teens that I would bring to camp, but all the stuff that I've learned. I'm not an EMT, I'm not a nurse, I'm not a firefighter or a law enforcement officer, but this has really been something where I've learned skills that have helped me be prepared for lots of things in my life. And I like to be prepared. I don't like to be surprised. I don't like to be in a situation where I don't know what to do. And one of the easiest things that we can give, a gift of skills that we can give to teens and adults and anybody really, is the skill of learning how to do CPR and AED. Behind me, I have a little plaque that says Leadership Matters. And I want to just ask you guys, generally speaking, why do you think leadership matters? You can take yourselves off mute and share why you think leadership matters.
I think leadership matters. It's like a voice for the people, and like a leader, they're speaking on behalf of the people and providing awareness.
Yep. Anybody else have thoughts on why leadership matters?
Yeah, I think leadership matters because it's good to kind of have one person to guide a group of people, and that multiple leaders can come together to do the best thing for all their people that they're leading.
That's great. Bannon? Yeah, I think, for me, leadership is really important, because when you don't have a leader, when you don't have somebody taking charge of a situation, if you don't have somebody directing things, think it's chaos. And so you guys probably learned throughout the week about the incident command system. You've learned about emergency preparedness, and all of that leads into being a leader. Welcome, Bannon. We're glad you're on the call today. So when you learn this skill, this is another step in you becoming leaders. Like if something happens to somebody, you'll know what to do. Today is a really important day. I know, and the more you practice and the more time you take to participate in drills and think about what you do, the more you'll be able to react, hey, in case there's a situation that you come upon. And sometimes your first response is that you're shocked by the situation. And if you don't know what to do, if you haven't practiced, you haven't done anything, you might not do anything. So that's why it's so important to practice and do these skills. So for a person who has a cardiac arrest or a heart attack, and just to remind you from yesterday's call, if you haven't had a chance to review it or didn't catch that part of the presentation, the difference between the two is that the heart attack is kind of like a plumbing issue, where something is blocking your vessels, versus a cardiac arrest, which is an electrical issue with your heart, and your heart can't pump properly. So CPR is critical in both situations. We'll also be talking about the AED, the automatic external defibrillator, today, and that is super important for a cardiac arrest, because it's an electrical issue, so an electrical charge will help reset the heart if that can be done. So let me just say that for every minute somebody doesn't get CPR, you lose 10% chance at survival. So that's why it's so important to know even a little bit of CPR, because if you know no CPR, or don't know what to do, or don't try anything, a person, until somebody with CPR skills comes along, loses 10% chance of survival for every minute they're down. So after 10 minutes with no assistance of whatsoever, you can a person is less likely to survive a heart incident. So that's super important to know. I am going to share a video with you guys. This video was done by Children's Wisconsin Project Adam team. And we have some actual alumni and the Ready alumni in this video. Liam O'Neill, who is now in the Air Force, he went through Ready camp from 7th grade all the way through high school. I don't think he missed a year, maybe one at the most, but I don't think he missed any. And now he's in the Air Force. Yep. MJ can answer that.
Yeah, and then he was also camp counselor every year.
He was a camp counselor after.
Yep.
He developed a program called ASSERT, Active Student Emergency Response Team at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, based off of a program he learned about in Ready Camp that was at the Madison campus. So, and then the other gentleman that's in the video that's a Ready alum is Chris Harris, and he was a camp counselor, and now he works for Children's Wisconsin in Milwaukee as a nurse. So I'm gonna just pull up that video because I think it's a really nice drill video that shows all the steps very well. And then we'll talk about it a little bit more after the video.
And just wanted to add that each of you can be a leader, no matter what age you are definitely a leader. And then also just wanted to add to what Kim had said too, that my experience is working in the emergency department, and after you learn CPR, even if we've had people who hadn't taken a CPR class for like 20 years and still was able to do the skills that you're going to learn today and was able to save a life. So even though you may not, we really recommend you to continue to be certified as a CPR provider, but even if you don't, the skills come back to you and you learn that you're going to learn today.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And again, it goes back to that if you train your brain now for these skills, you know, I shared with the Bayview Community Center Ready team this year that in November, I witnessed a hit and run pedestrian accident where the car went through a red light and hit a pedestrian, and the person literally flew through the air and flipped before they hit the concrete again. And I remember, I'm positive that I was in shock, like when it happened. I couldn't believe that it had happened and that I had witnessed that. But fortunately, you know, from having actually, and I say it's because of Ready, I kind of went into action and put my car into park and put my emergency blinkers on and like went over to the gentleman and started working on helping that gentleman and contacting 911. But it was a very stressful situation, and I was in shock. But like your training kicks in when you have a situation where you're in shock. So let me just start with this training video here. It's a really nice one. I like it a lot, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it.
Oh man, that was a great start to that game, man.
You have to share a different screen.
Yeah, I hope she can pick it up. She needs to make it feel
just your link showing.
Mr. K.
Wow, it's nice to see you back from college.
Yes, sir.
How did your first semester
Is it
go?
sharing?
It was good. It was
No,
good.
not yet.
It was hard exam week. I'm feeling real beat, worn out.
Just tired, huh?
Yes, yeah.
Take it back.
But you're watching your sister play tonight.
Yeah, first game back, and
how's she doing out there on the
There you
court?
go.
she's
Now
good.
you have
She's
it.
making a few more buckets, but
Yeah.
she's doing all
Will
right.
she defend the family name better if she scored like you used to
Exactly,
score?
exactly. She's working on it.
All right. How has school been going?
It's going. It was good. I'm exhausted from exam week. It was a long week.
You look tired. Are you feeling okay?
Feeling a little lightheaded, but I'm a little dizzy.
You're lightheaded?
Yeah.
Hey, it's Chris. Are you okay?
Right?
Are you okay?
Chris, wake up, man. What's up, Chris?
Judy, can you call 911? Liam, into the gym. Get the AED. Katie, come on. Chest compressions.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 1, 2, 3, 64,
Button this shirt while I get this set up.
7, 68, 69, 70. 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100.
Do not touch the patient. Where? Deliver shock now. Shock delivered. If needed, begin CPR.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Chris.
Hey, man.
Chris.
You all right? What happened? I mean, you fell over, man. Right. You were saying you felt weak. What happened?
What do we have?
Chris was saying he felt kind of weak and then he just collapsed.
Okay. How are you doing, sir?
All right.
How long were you out for it?
Sudden cardiac arrest can happen to almost anyone. What you'll learn today, you're most likely to use on a friend or family member. 90% of sudden cardiac arrests happen at home. Do you know how to recognize sudden cardiac arrest? If someone becomes unresponsive and there's no breathing, you should take action. You have to assume this is sudden cardiac arrest. Cardiac death happens in minutes. Rescuers only have 3 to 5 minutes to save a life. This means compression-only CPR and retrieval of the nearest AED is critical. First, order someone to call 911. Second, send somebody to retrieve the nearest AED. Then, immediately begin chest compressions. Place your hand on the center of the victim's chest between the nipples. Push hard and push fast, about 100 to 120 pushes per minute. Each compression should go down at least 2 inches. Each chest compression is the victim's heartbeat. Your chest compressions keep blood and oxygen circulating to the brain. This helps to keep the brain alive and free from damage until the heart can be restarted.
Use an AED as soon as it arrives. AEDs are accurate and easy to use. You cannot harm a victim with an AED. It will only deliver shock if needed. Turn on the AED by opening the lid or by pushing the green button. Then, follow verbal prompts.
Remove clothing from the patient's chest. Open packet and apply pads onto patient's bare skin. Apply pads as shown in the pictures. Open packet and apply pads onto patient's bare skin. Apply pads as press pads firmly on skin. Apply pads as shown in the pictures.
The AED will then analyze and determine if a shock is necessary.
Do not touch the patient. Analyzing heart rhythm. Do not touch the patient. Analyzing heart rhythm. Shock advised. Do not touch the patient. Press the flashing shock button. Shock delivered. Begin CPR. 10. 20.
The AED will ask you to continue CPR for 2 minutes, and then will tell you to stop while it analyzes again to see if a second shock is needed. Never turn an AED off or remove the pads. Continue to follow the AED's instructions until EMS arrives.
Project ATOM stands for Automated Defibrillators in Adam's Memory. Our program takes its name after 17-year-old Adam Lemmel, who was playing basketball when he suddenly collapsed and died. When he suffered a sudden cardiac arrest, the AED and chain of survival was not in place. The goal through Project Adam is that all schools have AEDs and a practice plan, meaning they know what to do if a cardiac emergency happens because they have trained staff and a plan to respond. Let's review the steps we've learned today. Number 1, recognize a sudden cardiac arrest. Number 2, call 911. Number 3, start chest compression only CPR. And number 4, get the AED as soon as possible to the scene. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please share this with somebody you know.
All right, so if you want to share that with somebody at some point in time, you can feel free to just go to the Project Adam, just search Project Adam Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You can go to their site and they have CPR. There's a tab called CPR resources, and they have a lot of different videos in there to practice or just share with other people. One of the things I want to mention is that like they showed it kind of in a school setting that this took place. So they didn't have to like check for scene safety in this instance, but there may be situations where if somebody is down and unconscious, where you would need to, before you approached the person, just check for scene safety. Make sure it's safe for you to approach. Because if it's not safe for you to approach, you don't want to create a situation where now there are 2 people down and need assistance. So just make sure you are aware of that if there's a situation, or if it's unsafe to go into a situation, don't go into a situation that is unsafe. Call for help and get help. There's times where you can't go into a situation and need additional resources. A couple comments about the AED before we like practice some skills. AED, for you guys in schools, I'd like you to really encourage you, and you'll learn more about this with Kathy tomorrow with the Heart Safe Schools program a little bit more and doing a school checklist. But your AED doesn't do a lot of good if it's too high for anybody to reach. Some schools are, will sometimes put it up way up high because they're afraid that kids are going to mess around with it or possibly get hurt. And that's not typically the case. Like even if a student could like take an AED out, they couldn't like shock another student unless the student needed to be shocked. So some schools do this. So if your AED is too high for most people to reach and somebody has to stand on a chair to get it, that's something to advocate with your, get a group of people and advocate to your administrators and say, this really needs to be down where people can reach it and accessible. You also need to make sure your school is checking the batteries on a regular basis. The AEDs operate off of batteries, and the batteries do have to be changed at some point in time. So like you don't want to have a situation like I know somebody, and actually they were on an ambulance unit where they needed to use an AED on a patient and the batteries were dead on their AED. So yeah, that was a really embarrassing situation for that team. You wouldn't want at your school, because like, it doesn't happen very often that you need it. But if you do need it, you want it to work. So you need to make sure that they're doing like annual checks. And typically like a school that's doing the right things will have like a list next to your AED, and it'll show the last time somebody checked the dates, checked the battery on it. So make sure your school is doing those things. As I said before, an AED can't shock someone if they don't need the shock. However, if you're using the AED on a person who is down and needs it, if somebody or yourself gets in the way of the shock when you press the shock button on the thing, then you could be shocked. So you have to make sure that everybody is clear when using the AED. And always be aware that like when that AED first comes to you, the first thing that somebody needs to do is turn it on before they start doing anything else. One other thing that like some people make a mistake on is that, and a lot of adults do this. In the case of the video you just saw, there was no alarm on that like AED. But most cases, when you open that case, there is an alarm that goes off. And that's more to alert people in the general vicinity that like the AED has been taken out and there's an emergency situation. It does not, in most cases, 99% of cases, does not dial into 911 and take that responsibility away from wherever this is happening. You still have to call 911 because it doesn't go to a dispatch station saying this area just took out their AED, help needs to go to that place. Okay, those were some of the main things I wanted to make sure to cover before we get into that. Did anybody bring a pillow or a stuffed animal or something like that to practice? If you did, we'll go ahead and practice together. Also, for all of you that are on the call today, MJ will be sending you a heart safe, like a family and friends CPR anytime kit. So it'll look mine's a little different because mine's older. But like, it has a mannequin in there that you blow up, like you blow it up on the back, and then you can do mouth to mouth on this one if you wanted to. We're only doing hands only. And then it has a clicker in the center when you need a depth of about 1.5 to 2 inches to be doing good CPR on someone. And so this helps you practice that depth. So when it clicks, and we'll show you that in just a minute, when it clicks, you know you're getting a good compression. Some people, when they've been used a lot, like in the Bayview Community Center, Ready mannequins, mini-ans, they have been used so many times and by like so many students that like their clickers don't always click anymore. And so that can happen, but like with the new ones, like you should be able to get a good click if you're getting a good compression. As far as rates go, like CPR rates, like they always tell you, like you can like put make sure if you're doing the compressions fast enough, like the song Staying Alive, boom, boom, boom. Like if you can think of that in your head. But I also have an app on my phone, and it's called, you're not gonna be able to see this because it's a little light. It's called CPR Tempo. And what's cool about this one is it'll give you the tempo that you want. But like it's also good for some healthcare workers too, because I think that there's a part of the app is like if you give somebody epinephrine in here, or if you use the AED, you can hit that button if you're using those tools, and it helps you to kind of keep track of your compressions. One of the things that I am terrible at is keeping track of my compressions. I can count it out loud, but after a while, I forget how many sets I've done. When I first came on here at St. Joseph Academy, I was the lucky person who got to find the mannequin in a drill situation in our school, and nobody in our school really knew what to do either, and I didn't know anybody yet. But like I went and got help, but like the help never came, and I did CPR for 7 minutes, and I don't know how many compressions I did, but I did a lot of them. I hurt afterwards. It's like very like strenuous exercise, so it's good for your core muscles if you want to build those core muscles. But it can like, you can feel it after a while, which is why it's always good too to like, if you have a partner, if somebody is there present, like to switch out after 2 minutes, because after 2 minutes your compressions get not as strong, a little bit weaker. And so you want to give the person that you're working on the best chance at survival and keep pushing that blood through their system so that they can go to the heart and to the brain and all of the places that blood and oxygen needs to go. So you want to make sure, like, if you can like switch out if at all possible. Also, just a reminder, when you tell somebody to go get help, be specific as to who you're sending for help or who you're asking to call for help. I was in a situation where like there was a head-on car accident, and I came up thinking that somebody would have like called the police or called an ambulance or something. And there were 20 people standing around, and I asked, has anybody called? And not a single person had called yet. And so I like directed a specific person, looked him in the eye. He had a phone. I knew he could do it, and just told him, call 911. So don't assume that people have A, called if you approach, and B, make sure you specify someone specific to call, because that's super important. Let's see. I'm gonna put on my like little tempo here. I'm gonna demonstrate for like just a series of 30 compressions, and then you guys can join me if you would like, okay? So let me just like get this going and see, well, let me turn it all the way up so hopefully you can hear it. And I think it's at 100 compressions this one's set at versus 120. I think 120 is better, but I think this one's at 100. So hand over hand, put it in the center of the chest, arms straight, and then you start your compressions. You need to make sure, oops, sorry. You need to make sure that you're coming back off of it, letting the chest rise. Otherwise, you're not getting the blood correctly. All right, I'm gonna stop there. All right, so now you guys, and you can be on video if you want to, or stay unvideoed. I'm gonna let it count to like 5 with the CPR, and then we'll do a count of 30. Okay. Let me hit start. Make sure you're in position. Go ahead and get in position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30. All right. How was that, guys?
Good.
All right. So when you get your kits, they're going to come with a DVD that's going to put you through a more rigorous like training than that one. They'll have you do it for 2 solid minutes, and then practice all the steps that go with it. When you don't see somebody go down, you have to make sure when you approach them that you try and wake them up, or see if they're just resting or something. So you have to be loud. You have to be like aggressive, and you'd be like, "Hey, are you okay? Are you okay?" Like, and if you don't get a response, then you either call 911 on your phones and put yourself on speakerphone if you're on your own, or ask somebody else to do that. And then if they're not breathing, you start the chest compressions, and you try and get an AED if an AED is available for you. So let's see. I feel like I'm missing some things. PPE. We all have heard this term before, and you noticed I forgot to put on my PPE even though I had it. If you have PPE, make sure to wear it. It helps protect you, and it helps protect the other person. In a COVID situation, if you're comfortable giving assistance to somebody who needs help, just make sure you're wearing your mask for sure. If you're working on somebody, you're expelling a lot of air when you're working on it, and inhaling a lot of air. So you want to make sure to have your mask on if you're trying to help somebody. Anything else? I didn't have an AED trainer to bring in today because they're not where I would normally get mine. With businesses closed and people not in the offices, I couldn't get a hold of one. But the keys to that is like, just listen to the AED. The AED will tell you everything you need to know. You have to turn it on, otherwise it doesn't talk to you. So turn it on first, and then from there it'll tell you how to put the pads on, and where to put the pads, and when to deliver a shock, and when to like step away so that it can analyze. So it tells you everything So that's kind of comforting in a lot of ways. You don't have to remember that. You just have to listen and follow instructions. Through everything, you should still be doing compressions. You should still be like doing CPR, except when it's analyzing or when the AED needs to do the shock. So CPR needs to be continuous. Like if any gaps or lapses in it is like, you know, is not considered good CPR then. So you want to make sure you're going full tilt. Many of you guys may be babysitters. And I really encourage you when COVID is done or whenever the new norm of CPR training is, like that you guys get your certification classes for CPR and AED. But I have my little baby here, my baby mannequin, and they do have the CPR Anytime ones and an infant CPR course. But like I just like cradle, you know, my baby like a football. You always want to support the back of the head because the back of the head is pretty fragile yet for infants. And you use two fingers in the center of the chest. It's the same rate as for an adult. Just that you're using two fingers. So that's like just a little infant. Cool. Your hands use the same brand. Awesome. Okay, so I'm just putting the baby over here. Any questions that you guys have, like about CPR? Any concerns that somebody's never shared with you? Anything about the AED? Sometimes we have some different kind of questions about AEDs and stuff. If somebody's super wet and has come out of a lake or something like that, you're going to want to dry them off before you put AED pads on. You don't want jewelry anywhere near where the AED pads are. Or with girls, they have sometimes underwires in their bras, so those have to sometimes be cut off to make sure that the electrical current for the AED goes where it's supposed to go. And it's not distracted by other metal or things around you. You can still use an AED on somebody with a pacemaker, I believe. You just don't want to put the pads directly over the pacemaker. Let's see, what else? Anything you can think of, MJ? Is there anything else?
No, I think just know that like with the infant, it's faster. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, their pulse rate is faster than the adult. So it's actually 100 to 120 for an infant. So you would go, really fast. Although with the infant, their chest isn't as big, so it's easier to go fast. And especially if you're doing CPR on an infant, people usually do just tend to naturally go fast because your anxiety level is like really high and stuff. And so, yeah. And then the other way that you can actually give CPR to an infant is you take your fingers and go all the way around the chest and push in that way. If it's a really small infant, you can actually do better CPR that way by just putting your hands all the way around the chest and giving CPR that way. So, but it depends upon the size of the infant.
Yeah, this baby's kind of big.
Yeah,
it's a big baby.
Yep. So anyway, but that's actually how I actually became a nurse, is because I used to be a florist before I was a nurse, and I took my children to the floral shop with me because my parents owned the flower shop. And my daughter, when she was about 6 months old, I was giving her some medicine and she choked on the medicine and she stopped breathing. And so it scared me so bad that the next CPR class that was offered, I was enrolled in it, as was my husband. And I was not going to be caught in that situation again because I was so scared. I could not even dial the numbers on the telephone to call the ambulance. I was that scared. And so I did not want to be put into that situation again. Thankfully, she's okay. My dad knew CPR, and she's a teacher now. She's actually a home mom, a stay-at-home mom right now, but she is a teacher also. But anyway, yeah, that's why it's really, really important. And then I loved the CPR, and they talked me into taking the EMT class to become an EMS provider on the ambulance, and I absolutely love that. And so then that's what made me go into emergency department nursing. So, so that's kind of how one thing happens, and it just spurs so many other things to happen. And now teaching CPR to youth is actually so important. And Bannon, I'm so excited that you're doing a project related to this too. So that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I'd actually talk a little bit more about it now, if that's fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead, Bannon.
All right, so firstly, I guess hello. To introduce myself, I am Banan Garada, a member of the National YPC Council, and co-leading the Region 5 YPC Council, and YPC stands for Youth Preparedness Council. And so right now I'm working on a transitioning from COVID-19 webinar, Youth Stressors and Concerns webinar project. And so it does sort of not directly relates to CPR, but it is in that realm of, preparedness and making sure that youth especially are, safe and secure, moving on to, a more of a less quarantining world with traveling to places, of course, with the appropriate health restrictions, as well as, starting up school real soon. And, in preparations for this webinar, so this webinar is tentatively will be held September 10th. And so in preparations for this webinar, I did create a survey. Let me pull it up real quick, about, youth stressors and concerns. And I'll share it right here. And I'd love if maybe some people were interested to, have a look at the survey and fill it out. It should only, take 2 minutes, but it would be very useful in knowing some of, our youth, like you guys, your concerns and your stresses transitioning from this, COVID-19 quarantining world, and really onto, more, outside of the house adventures, and really knowing, how you feel about that, what your thoughts are. And I'd love to, then integrate that in the webinar that I will be holding, alongside with two invited speakers who are responding and assisting in the COVID-19 pandemic, such as I forget. It's not entirely been revealed yet, but we will be having one member from the Department of Health and Human Services, and from Washington D.C., as well as we'll be having another guest speaker, responding to about mental health issues in youth during this time. And so I'm really excited to have those speakers on board, and presenting to youth what they have to say. And yeah, and so I'd love to see you guys, some familiar faces at that webinar when we hold it again in September 10th. So that is like some month and a half away. But here's the Google Forms I just posted.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you could click on it or like copy paste it into your web browser, and it should open right up. So again, it's like for youth specifically, learning a little bit more about your opinions and concerns and stresses. And maybe this is something that could be shared through email as well. Yeah, I mean, if anyone does anyone have pressing questions about it now, or a little bit about my thoughts behind this?
Bannon, if I sent your Google form to students at our school, would that be helpful to you?
Yeah, that would be amazing. Yeah, I'd appreciate it so much. Thank you.
And Bannon, send it to me by email, and then I'll send it to the whole group.
Yep.
Too.
Cool. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your webinar link too, like make sure MJ gets that so that we can share that with other students and stuff to participate in your webinar.
Cool. Yeah. So the webinar link has not still been completely set yet, but in the Google form there's a option. The last question is to enter in your email if you're interested in like staying in the loop and getting that webinar link once it is ready.
Very cool.
Perfect. Thank you very much. This is great.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's very exciting.
Thank you for giving me the chance to speak about it here.
Yeah. And yeah, like as we come kind of to a close too, like I meant to say this at the beginning, but I was just disjumbled. It happens to us adults sometimes. But if you guys would like to accept the challenge of creating a video, creating a poster, creating something about either showing how to train, like on a, how to do CPR, or why it's important to learn, maybe submit that to MJ by Thursday so that it could be kind of voted on Friday. And I'm sure MJ would say that there's prizes.
Yes, there's Amazon gift cards involved.
Yep. So if anybody wants to take on that challenge and develop something like regarding the importance of CPR and AED, and it can be in any format, just share it with MJ, and then she'll share it with everybody Friday, and there can be a vote. So or we can talk about how that happens. I don't know, but I just wanted to throw that out there because you guys are so powerful. Your voices are powerful, and we need to hear your voices more. We hear ourselves talk all the time. We need to hear from you guys. So, and the world needs to hear from you guys, because you guys are amazing and have amazing thoughts and can make a huge difference in our world. And we need more people like that out there. So yeah, so make sure to participate in all the challenges all summer long, and share those with us. And then we'll get those out and share them with the world. So just want to challenge you guys a little.
Sure. That's great. I love those challenges. And so does everyone else. So which reminds me that I'm way behind on my Amazon gift card, so I better get caught up in that. So yeah.
And then just a reminder of what the rest of the week will be happening the rest of the week. Tomorrow, Kathy Verstegen, who is a school nurse with the Kimberly School District here in Wisconsin. She's amazing. She has school drills down like nobody I know. And she's awesome. And so I really encourage you to tune in to learn more about how you can help your school be like safe. And then also to learn more about her career as a school nurse and why she's doing it, and what are the, why does she love doing it? She's been a school nurse for a really long time. And so you don't do that unless you love it. So I'm sure she'll be inspiring as to why she loves being a school nurse. And then we have two ladies on Thursday. Thursdays will be a recorded session because the two ladies that are doing the presentation, they work in the cath lab at Children's Wisconsin. So their schedule with cardiac patients is a little crazy. So they couldn't commit to like actually like being there on time. So they wanted to make sure that they could still talk with you guys and talk about their experiences and what the cath lab is and what they do there, and what kind of heart stuff they treat and take care of in that lab. So that's kind of a cool experience to be able to see what happens there, a different experience you might not normally see. And then Friday, Allie from Project Adam and myself will close out the week, and you know, hopefully have a bingo game, and hopefully you guys will take up my challenge and like put out some amazing stuff for us to review on Friday. And yeah, and then our week will be done. It's hard to believe we're already almost halfway through. So
exactly, and you can send it at any time. You don't have to wait until Thursday. So
yep,
anytime, and I'll send it on to Allie and Kim. Okay, too bad Damien's not on. He does great TikTok videos too.
Oh, I tried to click on his, but I couldn't get in, so I have to figure out how to do that.
Yeah,
I'm old.
Yeah, it's great. So if anyone wants to do that too, that would be great to put together a video or anything. So, all right. Cool.
Yeah, and who knows? I know Children's Hospital, or sorry, I called them the old name. Children's Wisconsin now. It's going to take a really long time to get used to their new name because it's been that name forever. But they're actually looking at doing PSAs in our operations committee. That's been put on hold, obviously, because of COVID and stuff. But I think at our August meeting, maybe that's back on the calendar to discuss. And so maybe one of you guys will have something that will be really intriguing as far as a PSA goes, and maybe it could be something that becomes more national within Children's Wisconsin. So who knows? I mean, that you could like do something and like it could go like all over the place. So
do you want to explain what a PSA is?
Oh, so a PSA, sorry. Yep, that's kind of an acronym that like isn't necessarily familiar anymore. Public service announcement. So when you see like ads on your your football boards, or you see like an ad on TV is a little bit more expensive because they don't give much as far as like donations to nonprofits anymore for ad space. But when you see like different things, maybe even on YouTube or Facebook, when an ad pops up that's more social service and a nonprofit, giving a good message about something positive to do, that's kind of I think that hopefully that describes the PSA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great.
So yeah, so.
Does anyone have any questions for Kim before we end today? Any questions about CPR, use of the automatic external defibrillator?
Anything that scares you about it?
Yeah.
Is there anything that makes you nervous, like to do it? What would make you nervous about doing it if you had to do it?
Just a matter that it's, you know, like if in a real scenario, if I am to do that in a real scenario, just knowing that it'd be a matter of life or death, that would be really scary thought.
It is scary. It is. But what's cool is like you do it, you practice it, you learn it, you practice it, and when you do that, like when you're presented with a situation, it doesn't mean you're not scared. You're scared, and the adrenaline's going like crazy, but you know what to do. And then you feel more comfortable because you know what to do. Like, you know, it's when you don't know what to do when I think it's even scarier.
Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why it's important to always be prepared. I'm all about preparedness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Great. Yeah, and I can tell you, even as an emergency department nurse for over 30 years, you're still scared every single time. So it doesn't get any easier, but it is being prepared and practicing, practice. So, but there are AEDs in malls and in airports and all over the place. So once you're trained in an AED, you can actually use it at any time that that you would have someone actually collapse and have to do CPR on. And so, yeah, you can just take it off the wall and use it. And as Kim in the video, as it showed, it walks you through step by step what to do. So all you do is take it out, open it up, turn it on, and it will walk.
Sometimes even opening it turns it on. So
yeah.
depending on the AED.
Yep. So that's the first step, is turning it on.
Yeah.
Walk you
It won't, like I said, it won't talk to you if you don't turn it on.
Yep.
So.
So, but we have some trainers, and we'll try to get some trainers and actually have you see that, you know, like in person. Maybe we'll try to do a demonstration of it again and with AED.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's much better when you can kind of see it almost in person.
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable with it.
Right.
I just couldn't get my hands on one, and Amazon unfortunately isn't doing like next day deliveries these days. So
that'd be pretty expensive to order through Amazon. Anyway.
Well, they had some that were less than 100.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, like trainers.
Trainers, huh?
And then I'm like, well, I'm gonna get one just so I have one at home. I have all sorts of random stuff at my house. So, because you never know when you need it.
Cool. Awesome. That's great. Okay, well, we will see everyone at 12:30 tomorrow. And Kathy has brought her teams to Ready Camp in the past too. So, so I'm excited to see Kathy again too. So
yeah,
we'll see her tomorrow.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Sounds good. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Yep. Thank you.